The level of guilt you feel when you pick yourself and you choose the things that are most important to you probably correlates to the level of entitlement and maybe obligation for the organizations, systems, families, groups that are around you. And I say that from a place of finally getting the idea that guilt is an evaluation of you doing something wrong. It's not a confirmation, or it's not some jury bringing in a decision. It may even come to the point where it's reactive. It's something that you default to and you don't even know why. And so when we're doing these things, we kind of bring ourselves into a hard situation. We have to choose between going forward with the things that we know are kind of familiar, and choosing alternatively the things that we know that we need to do that would be better for us, that would be better for our futures. And so guilt is that grimy, gritty thing that is kind of gnawing and rubbing against you, and it's really, really hard for you to consider that this is not just the time or place to ask yourself, what exactly is it that I desire really? But I think it's also an indication that you may be in a position or a place that is no longer in sync, that is no longer aligned. And so when you're being guilted, that's something that can trigger doubt, because you're being told you're doing something wrong. You're behaving incorrectly. You're going against the rules. You're doing something that we were told that is acceptable. Only if you want to kind of be discarded or disregarded. So you want to be in the fold. You want to be part of the group. You want to be loved. You want to be part of the accepted class. So you want to do what everyone else is doing, right? Guilt is the indicator. Guilt is the navigator. Guilt will come from whatever corner and whatever recess it resides in, and kind of sneak up and tell you that not only is it something that you should not do, but you're bad for even considering doing it. Okay, so doubt has its accomplices. You have guilt, you have obligation, you have entitlements. And these are all things that come together, I think, in our subconscious and make us do decisions and make decisions that we think are being driven by logic and information and informed consent and research. But they're really actually just driven by us being in a position where we don't want to feel guilty. We don't want to feel bad anymore. We don't want to feel like we just did all these things for serving self and we were not considerate of other people or other things. And I've seen people even feeling guilty in positions that require them to defend themselves, self-defense. How are you going to feel guilty when you're just trying to preserve your very life? And I'm not talking about extremes where somebody is going and, trying to possess someone or dispossess someone of their private belongings, but I'm talking about basic survival. Like, give me my space. Like, you will not ruin my name and ruin my reputation type of self-defense. And people still feel guilty for this, even after people are absolutely rude, absolutely manners deficient, and very much willing to not only rain on your parade, but possibly pee on the future parties, right? So you encounter all these personalities, and I think they come in extremes sometimes. Some are willing to give, some are willing to yield. And guilt is this thing that pops up and says, well, if I take too much and I accept what needs are being met and I accept too much, then, maybe I should feel bad because this is not something that's going well. And that is something that'll crawl into your consciousness and just really, really be totally upsetting. So I want you to be aware and be conscious of the fact that these are feelings. Feelings kind of come from somewhere and they are stored somewhere, but you kind of get to determine the purpose based on how you react or respond to them. So it's not simply regarding how you in this present moment feel, but maybe how you've been grown accustomed to feeling, and how you've grown accustomed to acting, and how you've grown accustomed to responding. And I think I often have had to put myself in a position where I had to act in self-defense and act in self-preservation, and to really, really decide for myself that there's no other way around it, because predators are abound, and being nice or being a people pleaser, being coming off as fair enough, or these are things that only kind people consider. Predators are ready to consume, digest, right? They presume victory. They declare dominance even before they come to you. So when you're considering all these other factors and trying to make a diplomatic approach to your decision, and to have an open discussion, these folks or these institutions, these systems have already counted that out. And so you really have to be careful, be mindful, and be able to safeguard your body, your brain, your heart. So I don't think there's a simple way to look at it, but I think there are simply many ways that we must consider that you deserve every good thing that comes your way. And especially if it's not ill-gotten, you haven't manipulated and maneuvered people out of the way in order to get it. It's your business to welcome the good things and to usher out doubt and to push away the guilt that may say, like, maybe I should give a little more. Maybe this means that I'm obligated in the future. Maybe because of this kind gesture, now I have to do this. Now I have to give up this. Now I have to share this, right? You got to take a page out of the entitled people's book. They assume that the good things that come to them are due to them because of who they are. Just by virtue of existing, they believe that they are deserving. And that's something to be considered. I think children have a good, earnest grasp of this, but I wonder if we grow out of it as we grow older. So any good thing that comes to you, know that you are probably more than worthy, more than ready to receive it. And what you have to do is to work through those emotions that may suggest otherwise. So I'm not the person who's going to tell you stop thinking the way you're thinking, but I want to suggest that might you take the time to look at how all these other parties kind of interact with the world, and how all these other beings kind of take, and not even welcome or receive, but take, even without considering maintaining a balance. You have to consider that you will never be in a position where you're absolutely and clearly feeling like anyone is obligated to you. That's just not your persona. That's not your personality. But to add balance to the world where the takers are going to take, I encourage you to yield on giving sometimes and give others the opportunity to be of service to you, and so you can receive as well. I love that we are in a position right now that we can take time to reconsider all the things that we've prioritized to date, and we can take respite, we can lean back, and we can look at the fact that so many things that kind of pushed us to make kind of reactionary decisions in the past have come to a point where we can look them in the eye and really think that we can reposition ourselves. And we realize that people who make us wait and wonder about our value or our position in their lives, they might just not be in the position for us to stand on an equal footing. They may just be in a position in life where we're not going to have a symbiotic relationship, and that's okay. However, you don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to feel like you're a bad person for coming to that conclusion. I also think that the idea that you're just cutting, sloshing, minusing people after one incident or one misunderstanding, I don't think that necessarily has to be the case. I think you can have indicators that make you kind of perk up and pay attention and realize, okay, this may be a warning, this may be something to be aware of, but you don't necessarily have to run, right? Your life is not in limbo. You're at liberty to just kind of take some time and kind of look and see how it's going to develop. And these are privileges that you have as a person who's able to live in their presence and live in the pleasant position of just receiving people for who they are. and evaluating people from where they stand, and understanding that some people are just gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna take up time, they're gonna take up energy, they're gonna take up attention, and they're gonna maybe sometimes even leave in their wake, dust petals of doubt. And you don't have to interact or engage with those people when you feel especially vulnerable, or you don't even have to continue long engagements after you realize that they're detrimental to you and that your interactions or your time with them make you feel substantially worse. I think that there's something to be said for engaging with your true personality and realizing that some of the things that you encounter in life, some of the doubts, some of the struggles and the challenges are there to really kind of charge you up, kind of like when you're in the gym and you're pushing against heavier weights, more resistance to kind of make you stronger. And so it's not pleasant, right? The ripping and tearing of muscles, the soreness that you feel for days after a hard workout are not necessarily pleasant, but they will lead towards a bigger, better, stronger place, bigger, better, stronger muscles, bigger, better, stronger mind. And that's what I keep telling myself every time I encounter something that I feel like seems absolutely unnecessary, like beyond the pale of just what life should even require. And so I think that it's really special when we can come to a place where we understand that these experiences are happening around us, but maybe we are choosing how we respond. And so I read this mini booklet. It's a coffee bean, and it's talking about how you can maybe influence your surroundings. And if you're a coffee bean, whether you're put in hot water or cold, do you change the environment to match you or to welcome you or to incorporate you? And so this coffee bean placed into water is kind of just diffusing and making coffee and making this drink that people love, people pay tons of money for, people almost have every day, right? So if you're a coffee bean and you put into a hot situation, what are you gonna do? If you're a coffee bean, you're put into a cool situation, what are you gonna do? And so I think these are things that will come to mind and you have to consider as you make decisions. What kind of person are you gonna be? Who are you gonna continue to be? And I'm not here to say that you need to commit to always taking the higher road. I'm not here to say that you always need to commit to trying to make sure that you leave no so-called enemies or no opposition that might be a bit bitter. But I want to also say that you're not responsible for everybody's takeaway points, and sometimes they've already determined their takeaway even before you give them the lesson, right? They've decided on the main key points without even reviewing the book. So then you're in a position where you have to decide and prescribe for yourself how you're gonna live and how you're gonna live it out, and how you're gonna make sure that you adopt the highest esteem for yourself. And that means that you're going to get rid of guilt and get rid of that sensation that you're doing something wrong or you're being something wrong just because you're being something different. And I think next time I'm going to talk about being different and how different, just because we will always need to be in community, being different can be perceived as something that's so negative and so bad. But being different is just what people experience when they're doing something that's separate from the crowd. And everyone doesn't have to agree with it, and everybody doesn't have to love it, but they definitely need to respect it if they're gonna be in business or in contact or in communication with you. I love the idea that we have the presence of mind and the ability to take control of our lives and to leave spaces that don't serve us and to leave relationships that don't serve us and to give ourselves the things that we think we desire and need from others, and to serve ourselves in the highest capacity so that we're so full that people can't come with kind of like their droplets of validation and feel like they've filled us up, because you have learned to fill yourself up. And that's one of my books currently available, a collection of poetry here on Amazon. It's about you being in a position where you favor yourself and you favor your most positive possibilities, and you favor and support and uplift your highest potential. And you do so through being in community, but also realizing you have a great responsibility to yourself and for yourself. So, you guys, I want you to consider that guilt is just a notion that you don't have to be stuck with that emotion. It may say that something you did is bad, but feelings are not facts. And I also want you to embrace that we can at any moment in time change our direction, change our dealings, change our desires. And that's what makes us human, and that's what makes us special, and that's what makes you so very much prepared to make that shift. So I'm Kai, and I'd love to advise you on your shift, whether you want to pivot to something new in your career, whether you're changing your persona as a person and as an individual, and you're preparing to navigate a change or a transition. These are all things that kind of bring up a bunch of quakings and concerns, because change can be hard. Doing something differently can be really challenging. But I'm here to walk that journey with you. So let me join your journey. I will share the link below. You can click and schedule an appointment. Look forward to chatting. Bye-bye.